Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Atamuruna an-nasa bil birri wa tansawna anfusakum wa antum tatluna al-kitab afala ta'qilun. Al-Baqarah verses 44. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organizing committee of World Islamic Countries University Leaders Summit, WICULS, for inviting me to be one of the speakers, especially in this very interesting section of solution after we have been discussing this complex issue about sustainability. I feel honored and blessed to be with the same chair with Yang Berbahagia Professor Muhammad Hashim Kamali, my teacher, my mentor. I feel very, very honored to be just next to him. At the same time, I feel very thankful also, because I know that he will be listening to my talk, and he will come after me to put more corrections or the additional ingredients to what those my presentation that maybe somehow or somewhere seem to be incomplete. Special thanks also I would like to give to Datuk Sri Professor Dr. Zulkifli Abdul Razak, another mentor of mine with great thinking, procedure and methodology that has allowed me to reach where I am today. With that, let me introduce you to what I'm going to talk today in this particular section. I know his time is very difficult, but if Professor Watanabe was trying to illustrate how difficult the teacher in Ambang Asuhan Jepun in University Malaya to teach the language of Japanese language for the preparation before the Malaysian students are able to continue the higher education learning in Japan within 2 years. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to teach you the principles of medication, of medicine, medical perspective, all those principles within 20 minutes if I have the time. And we will learn this. I will share with you those principles in the context of providing solution to the issues of sustainability that we have been discussing for the last 2 days. And then from there onwards, we will see how we go about. And in this specific presentation, I will refer to the common unwritten principle. This is my focus. All those ethics, whatever that has been written commonly that you can find in textbook or over the internet, I won't touch that. I will go through unwritten laws that doctors like me, practicing surgeon, believe, and we take them as if that is a religion to us. And we will see, I will try to demonstrate in this context so that we can try to at least solve the problem, do something, so that rather than we analyze and discuss, all going through all various type of definition, we want to do something to solve the problem. I will never start any presentation in my life without showing these slides about my beloved late father, Mr. Ariffin bin Ahmad, and also my mother, Puan Hajah Roziah binti Mustafa. Both of them never had a chance to attend formal school in Malaysia. I am the one is actually a product of higher education policy that has been established during Tun Mahathir era as a Prime Minister. I was born in 1976 and I graduated as a medical doctor in 2007. Further on my studies to be the youngest ever qualified orthopedic surgeon in Malaysia at the age of 30 in the year of 2007. I followed all the truths, I go through all the process. I resigned in 2011 from University of Malaya as a senior lecturer at that time because I want to pursue my passion in volunteerisms and politics. That is the little bit of introduction. The interesting question we discuss some other time. And of course, a special thanks to Professor Subir Singh Gupta. This man is a father of orthopedics in Malaysia. He came all the way from Calcutta after passing his FRCS of London in 1966. The man in the middle, he passed away in 2012. One of the reasons why I resigned from University of Malaya is because he's no longer around. I used to remember the corridors that we walked together. It's not just about orthopedics, but the principles of problem solving that he shared with me, that inshallah, some of them I'm going to have a chance to share with you in this beautiful hall. Let's begin. All my talks is about putting an objective. And I'm trying to position you as what I have just did just now. But the whole lecture of mine is about looking for problem solving. We want to utilize what are those medical perspective principles, and especially when it involves humanity. And we try to apply that, all those principles, and we hope in the very complex discussion that we discuss about sustainability. In words, to understand and to apply some common medical principle in the context of dealing with sustainability issues. That is a stated objective. And let's see what is next. You and I have seen this picture. I was very intrigued and excited when Professor Datuk Tan Sri Dr. Zul was explaining about all those, these three of sustainability. And when we look at the trunk, the center of it is actually education. There are so many other factors within the trees. And it is not only those, forgive me for this thing, this is actually values. We have the inspiration and innovation of the sun coming. And all these things has been described and discussed again. But the issue here is where are we and what are we doing? A friend of mine sent me this picture. I want to share with you that to illustrate what is actually currently happening. I think this picture has illustrated what we have been doing. Some of us, when this lorry was stuck, some of us really pushing the lorry. A few are doing some work in order to show that maybe they are also pushing. But there are also people who are doing this. They push so hard without realizing that that effects give nothing to the solution altogether. So that gives me the question of where are we right now in the context of problem solving of issues of sustainability currently. And I would like to maybe summarize prematurely at this level that the answers lies in finding the balance. It is not so right and it is not also so left. It is not advanced without any meaning, advanced with strong inheritance in our values and what we do in the context of community. It is not that we do not want to halt our development, but we want to develop while at the same time we want to make sure that the future generation is going to have the same resources as what we are. We have the issues of Akli and Nakli concept. We want to debate about where is the seeds of intellect. All those things come to the premature or at least earlier conclusion that we said, find the balance. The balance is just nice. What is adequate is very important. It is not overdosing. It causes a lot of problem. Underdosing, it doesn't give any effect. The exact dose is the one formula that we are looking now. So I'm coming to that. And why medical profession? And why medical fraternity? And why maybe health sectors are a good example to our component of sustainability that we have been discussing. Of course, we mentioned about the P, prosperity. We mentioned about policy. And we also mentioned about our planet. And of course, the context of people when we talk about cultural segment, when we discuss the component of sustainability. But at the same time, if you look at those in those boxes, are there similar components when we are discussing about health system, either in this country or everywhere? Just to recall, in 1960s when we just, post-Merdeka, post-independence days in 1957, the whole health system in Malaysia started with only availability. We want to make the health system available at that point of time. And after we have made that available, we want to improve the accessibility so that we, at that time there was nurses who were actually being posted inside the rural area. There is no doctors. Doctors are only located in that maybe a main hospital, one big hospital in one state at that particular time. But then the country progresses. We want to improve from there onwards. And we do expansions. We do privatization. After some time, the private hospital also become more and more. And we are now thinking which private hospital is the best hospital for us to get the treatment. And now we come with what we call as a golden seal JCI accreditation. We are talking about which hospital are the safest hospital now. Did you see the pattern that we are improving? And I would like to quote yesterday's presentation about the equity in sustainability concept by Professor Dr. Zulkifli. When we say it like this, we are now facing one problem, because this part, the money power, has become monopoly. And monopoly in almost every context, even in health system, that also affect our policy. Certain policies, it might be the best for the patient, but because it cannot be sustained from the monetary point of view, it cannot be done. We have just heard about the examples of higher education in certain countries, especially in Palestine, our brothers and sisters, and also from Sudan, how money itself, the lack of funding, has actually contributed to the lack of resources altogether. I don't want to mention here about this story. If I have to narrate everything, it's going to be a long talk. But the same goes to the ecology system, how the issues of environment, other support service, how do we actually integrate the whole health system within the same component to find a balance. Also, the mean of law and regulations. There are some doctors who work without license. There are medical assistants who claim they are doctors. There are ethics issues, and how do we punish those cases when we involve wrong and committed problems. And there are statements by authorities when it comes to specific issues. And of course, culturally, as it has been well demonstrated in any aspect. And the biggest or the biggest hurdles are actually lies within the cultural issue, because it's difficult to change a people, and especially a group of people. And from there onwards, I bring you what is the medical perspective. I want you to understand when the doctor sees a patient, how do we bring that to solve the problem? In general, we have a doctor must be prepared even before you see the patient. It just cannot be see a patient and then magic things goes on. We do not play God. The issue here, there must be some pre-consultations, preparation, and consultation during that session itself, and after that, they must have also post-consultation. Don't you think this is familiar when we are discussing about sustainability issues? I would love to actually quote what has been popularly quoted by the Imam Al-Ghazali. Life consists of three phases. Yesterday, which is history. Today, what is the matter most? And tomorrow, what we really do not know. So what matters most is during this consultation. Today is what going to determine whether you do something to solve the problem or to take an action. It's not about bragging or happy or to demonstrate about the past. Yes, it is good for us to actually learn from the history and to recognize the pattern. But what matters most is during the consultation. When a patient suffers from pain or any other diseases, what they want is a doctor to go and ask for some history. History itself in the medical fraternity provides 70% of the diagnosis already for those who have already understood or going through the experience. And then we did not want to actually exclude the importance of physical examination. You know, you don't feel good when you are sick. You go and see the doctor don't even touch you. You know, I say, what? Ini apa sakit? What, where is your pain? Here. You know, okay, take medication and go back. You don't have the problem, you come back again. You don't feel good about it. The hand touch, the human touch, which I'm going to talk in the next slide, is the one that sometimes gives a lot more reassurance and problems solving to you. It may not be the medication, but the feeling. Now I'm coming to the answer. The feeling of being touched and being well taken care of is the one that gives hope to the problems. You know, medication, treatment is different story. And of course, we will do certain tests to confirm. This is very good. If you want to understand this in any problem solving, you can adopt straight away this methodology. The first thing is taking a history. Never ever jump into a conclusion. Get to the really deep-rooted issues of what are the current presentation. How long is the pain? What type of the character of the pain? Is there any associated problem that comes with the pain? What makes you relieve the pain? And what actually aggravate the pain? All those problems are being carefully examined to get the history. Why? Because we want the context to be correct. Any problem solving, when you apply even presumably correct intervention, but when you put it in the wrong context, it's going to become a disaster. Next is physical examination. That means you crisscross whatever you're finding and whatever in your thoughts in order for you to reach the diagnosis. The diagnosis is our aim. We want to get into the root cause of the problem. In the issue of sustainability, this is where research comes in. We do not want to actually say that, oh, this is what I think. As an authority in this aspect, I think this is due to this, in this, in this. No, that time has already passed. We need research to back up what you say. And that research must be based on certain tests, because we need to have one particular diagnosis. And once the diagnosis has been established, things are almost half settled, because the rest will follow into the managing the condition. And managing must include treatments, must also include the review of what you have done to actually correct the problem. Never ever assume that you have done something to correct the problem, but unfortunately, the problem has never been reviewed. This is a very, very important aspect. And this is where, to get into this complexity of managing this issue, the role of education, to put into the context and relation, to actually, deal with human being, the one that is very, very important. I have to be fast, because this is a bit difficult. I told you, I'm teaching medical within 20 minutes. If I can do this, if you can grab certain principle, I'm done. Even not a complete one. Normal school for my medical student, it takes 6 to 7 years. To reach my level, about 14 years, formal, followed by another 10 of experience. All right, this human touch, this slide is mainly to show you that, not everything's physical. There are elements of hormonal, emotional, and spiritual. This is where the treatment come about. I've skipped this. The surgery is only part of it. I just want to share this because I have a special passion towards children. I've been working with children all over. This part is in Khartoum and Sudan, in Omdurman. I've been there also. And this is particular place is in Tacloban city, where the biggest typhoon was there. We have to work out. Why I'm teaching you this time, this thing is the ability for a medical professional to actually administer solution or problem-solving solution must also depends on the environment and the local factor. You cannot just bring all your textbook material and suddenly go when there is everything, nothing is there. I have to actually use a normal box, boxes, and tear it into and make it a sudden splint, because this gentleman has been suffering for hip fracture for the last 2 days before he even see a medical professional. And all these things we have also to go to the certain extent that work with the people that may have a slightly different faith than us. But that doesn't matter, because our aim is much more important. And all those things, whatever the situation and location and the condition, I would like to summarize into this particular slide. This slide is even more important. If you want to see, you want to grab the medical principle in the problem solving of any problems, you must detach yourself or get yourself attached to these 3 principles. The principle number 1 is DTTUTTTY. Don't trouble unless the trouble troubles you. The trouble is not a trouble unless the trouble troubles you. You can make it in the context of you as a person, but you can also replace you as another organization, or a country, or this world, or this planet. Unless this planet is in the trouble, you don't trouble themselves. But if the problem started to become a big trouble, then the principle number 1 is passed. You need to do something. How do? You go into the principle number 2. Save life before limb, save limb before cosmetic. So whatever is needed to save the life, you do it. Whatever is haram also will become halal in the context of saving life. So after you have saved life, then only you look at what are the involved limbs so that you can even try to save that limbs. Make that limbs available. And if the limbs also survive, then only you focus all your works toward cosmetic. Make it beautiful as original as before. This is principle. We never go across or we never go against this type of principle. Application, a lot of things. I just go through, Mr. Chairman, the definition of this, you talk about definitions. You and I know, we got stuck, we debate so much, we spend so much time of definitions to create the balance and harmony towards the end. When it comes to action, it create a lot of problems. We have issues about education, we have issues about fairness in equity, we have issue about putting a global context in our local and that dynamic, the local setting and that dynamic of interaction. And this is another focus of mine. This is so key. I'm so focused for today's talk because all of you are the leaders, you are the people that can actually make change, and these are the most important part of it. And of course, we provide training, the trainers, and continuous learning. Last but not least, this is my third slide, inshallah, after last, is the action. I focus on my discussion on the action part of it. I would love to share with you that towards the end of any particular knowledge, you have to go back to the sacred text. We have to go back to the Al-Quran. The answer is, if you are talking about sustainability, without going back to that particular part, where is it missing? Excuse me. I put this number 1, with thematic understanding of the sacred text. Any science without change is an empty science. And any science without the backup of the greatest force is leading to nowhere. And with this understanding, then immediately you will understand about adaptability and perseverance. You also understand the knowledge of why and not just what. For example, like water, I always just give example. It's not just water, it consists of H2 and one molecule of oxygen. But why water? If you want to find that answer of why water, sacred text provide you the best reference. It is also about, last time that we learned ilmu alam instead of geography. We learned about the connection between the universe, the element of the universe, and now we only limit that into geography and history. All these things are the discussions that involve those principles that I have narrowed down to you. I would like to give you these amputation and death examples. In discussing sustainability issues, sometimes we quote or we take a referral to cancer cells. When cancer cells started to develop in one particular limb, when the diagnosis has already been established, what we need to do is to amputate before the cancer cells started to spread to the lung, because it will cause death later on. If this decision making we cannot do at the prompt time, then it will cause disaster, because whatever we do after that is not going to be functional. Why I'm showing this one? Because this is where the principles of save life before limb, save limb before cosmesis. And of course, I'll go through the rest of my second last slide. I believe that I will always put to us, to me in particular examples, I always put myself as a self-centered experiment. Allah Almighty has already given us knowledge. We have the privilege is to know a little bit of His knowledge. So the best part, the best place for us to actually justify and to make sure that we really understand the knowledge is ourselves. And when we have already become yaqeen, confident with the knowledge, all those 3 levels of no, hakul yakin, ainul yakin, that type of level of yakin already there, then you must also spread the knowledge to every other people. So the self-centered experiment is a must-do for those people who read books. Hence, that's why I quoted the Surah Al-Baqarah verses 44 just now in the beginning of my speech. Whoever has the knowledge and those who read kitabs and ask other people to actually do exactly the same thing without he himself has been doing it first. And Allah actually said, "Afala ta'qilun," as if that you are no-brainers in the Quran. So these words is very dear to my heart. And we must take this with a strong caliber, with a strong motivation to make the Islamization is not only from names, but to make an effort to really put into our daily life that we practice Islam. It's not just from the mouth. And we do that, we reform, we transform with truthfulness, we do the trustworthiness in this concept of Siddiq, Amanah, Tabligh, and Fatona. I have a request from Professor Datuk Zul to actually give one simple example as the last example when we do about da'wah. This is our everybody's role. When you claim that you're Muslim and the followers of Muhammad, then you have to do da'wah. I have a chance to actually reach a very isolated place in the rural part of Sabah, where there consists about 70 families of pure Christians. They believe in Christianity since 1920s, and I managed to only go there in 2013, if I'm mistaken, 2013. When I go there with my medical team to help them, to provide them, to show them that, look, we are also coming to help you. I've just been informed that yesterday or last week or a week before last, there are also always a group that coming from all over the world to do medical screening to them. They are very rural people. Then I started to realize that, look, people already done this part of the work, and how I'm going to show that I can also contribute. I started to look around, and I noticed that they have these dogs that they used to actually hunt jungles animals. And they love these dogs like their own children. They give their own food for this dog to eat. And I started to see that this dog also, a lot of them have wounds, because when this dog fight with wild boar, they have a lot of wounds. And immediately, an idea come to me that instead of we are treating patients, we are treating human beings, now we are treating dogs. Immediately we started to become suture, and I tell you what, almost every family started to bring their dogs for us to stitch. There are a lot of issues around here, but what I'm trying to tell you is, we have to provide opportunity for the non-Muslim, for our other people, different faith than us, to show that we believe that we are right. Show them that this is the correct way. Show them that your kindness. Show them that this is your ability for you to actually spread the knowledge and the message that come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then when the time of Salat come, that is when we stop and then we pray. For the first time ever, the community there has started to question, oh, is this how Muslims pray? You need to wash your face. You need to wash your hand. Cleanliness is very important in your aspect. And this is how, actually through action, that you spread the goodness of the religion. It is not about the religion per se, but it's about you and the rest of the humanity. And that is the contribution that you can do. I will skip this slide anyway. That is the contribution that you do. Everybody in any capacity, I believe, can do something in your own capacity to change good. This is what I do. I give poor services for free medical services for poor children. I operate for free for those children who are unable to pay. The rest, I travel. I try to help as many communities as I can. This is a group of people in Philippines that the victim of the Haiyan typhoon. They are actually children on the streets. They have never had food during the daytime. You know, when the parents go out to look for money, the children go out to look for food. Sometimes they have food, sometimes they don't have food. We provide free food for them, and that is when we teach them the humanity subjects. I would like to quote this one. This is from Kettering, Australia. I found started one of the rented car there. If we are not our brother's keeper, at least let us not be his executioner. I think with that, thank you very much. The last but not least conclusion, I would like, my conclusion slide is, have a faith in God we trust, build up the knowledge some more, do something so that the knowledge is continuous, and what is most important is what I call as amal, meaning action. Do something. And the knowledge is actually incomplete if you don't do it. And the action itself is incomplete if you do it without sincerity. With that, thank you very much.